Thanks for joining us tonight for Titans Talk here on News Channel 5 Plus. I'm Jonathan Hutton with Rhett Bryan of Titans Radio, and we welcome your phone calls at 615-737-7767. As we go straight to the phones to talk about the Titans, we start with Cliff on line 3. Hey, Cliff.
Yeah, man, what's going on?
Hey, man.
Yeah, I'm really sick of what's going on. When we had Munchak, and he got down to 6 wins, we thought, we needed a change. And we bring this dude in. I wish the Lions did get him. Hey, I mean, serious, dude. I'm a solid Titan fan. I know all kinds of. I read up on them in every outlet that there can be read up on. I'm just sick of his excuses. When something works, like he's talking about, and you were talking about earlier about Antonio Andrews, how he was doing so good, and then he backs off of even running him, and there was no reason to back off. It's sick faking. You got Justin Hunter that misses one throw to him. Well, if the man had been used just like in the NFL when players or go-to guys and they're big play names, that they're ones to go to, you got to utilize them for them to get that hot hand. You can't depend on them to, one throw, two throws every other game, just like BGB. I mean, look what he was doing, and then they back off from him. Now, the defense, look who you got. You got Dick LeBeau. He comes in here with Horton. They work together. They work good. But look at our defense. Then look at our offense. We've got great players.
Were you calling for Dick LeBeau's job last week against Miami?
Not understanding it. Dick LeBeau's job last week. Okay, every coach, things happen for a reason. They had a better plan than we did. They had to coach and come in, and everybody's fired up, just like you was talking about how the Titans did when they got their new stadium. That things happen, and what can you say about it? You can go any kind of way with it, but look at all the other games that LeBeau and Horton done an excellent job. They gave the offense a chance to win these games, and the coach, it comes dead down on him. He has not done his job. And that's all I've got to say. All
right, Cliff, we appreciate the call. We welcome your phone call each week here on Titans Talk. I will say this about the offense. Justin Hunter, you mentioned him. I think he's had plenty of chances to prove himself. He dropped the ball and the momentum in the first quarter yesterday against Atlanta. Dorial Green-Beckham is on the field for 30-plus snaps, Rhett. Has one target?
Targets once and no catches. Now, here's the thing about.
I'd like to see him more. I understand they're coming along slowly with him in the offense, but have 3 or 4 plays a game where you can just send him down the field.
I would think that you would have something simplified to be able to draw up some kind of fly or go routes, or our colleague Frank Wycheck always talks about their biggest plays on offense come on crossing routes down the field. All right, put them in one sometime. I don't know, but all I know is, first of all, Dorial Green-Beckham, prior to this preseason, hadn't played a game in 20 months because of everything that happened to him in college. But we know what he can do. We know he is a gifted person in terms of his athletic ability. And he's got 6 inches in height on most any corner he's going to face. Let him go get it. I would say, at this point, you're getting to a point where you're going to have to start doing some things to get things going, and maybe simplification is a part of that.
Well, and DGB had an opportunity. Was on the first drive where his one target where they threw him the football and he doesn't get his head around. I mean, that's an example of them looking his way and a player needing to do his side of the work and the effort to make a play. Same thing goes for Justin Hunter. And look, I understand where Cliff is coming from on the frustration. Hear it every day on 104.5 The Zone. But put things in perspective. If you're going to complain about play calling, complain about play calling. But whenever it comes down to, at minimum, a 45-yard gain that Justin Hunter should have caught, that's not on Ken Wisenhunt. That's on Justin Hunter. 615-737-7767, our number. We go to Ken on line 2. Hey, Ken.
Hey, Jonathan. How you doing, my man?
All right. Good to hear from you.
Good to be heard from. Listen, one of the things that I keep thinking about is when Ken Whisenhunt does his press conference after every game. He could have videotaped the very first one and used it after every game because it's the same old, same old.
Well, not the Tampa game, but the Cleveland game, right?
Yeah.
Not the first game.
Anyway, I always heard the saying, close only counts in horseshoes,
And hand grenades.
That's about the way it is. Did you see the fire coming out of Ken Whisenhunt's eyes when Kaharski was asking him the questions, firing him and grilling him? Is Paul Kaharski, is he trying to be the Jerry Springer of sports radio?
No, he would say Jerry Springer's trying to be the Paul Kaharski of talk TV.
Well, my opinion is you can look up in the dictionary of the word idiot. You'll see Paul's picture there. So anyway, y'all have a great show, and I love it.
Thank you. I'll let him know you said hello.
Obviously a big fan.
Yeah. I can't disagree. No, I'm just joking. Just joking. Look, Whisenhunt is fired up, and he's acknowledged. Look, on his own radio show, on Titans Radio, Tuesday nights on 104.5 The Zone. Look, he understands the record is what it is.
Yes.
And he understands fans are upset about it.
Well, he went so far today in his press conference at St. Thomas Sports Park to say, look, I know you guys have heard me say that we're close a bunch lately. And I know that it's probably growing tired. You're growing tired that you're hearing that. And he said, at the end of the day, we just have to go win a ball game. And
that's right.
Amidst all the questions about play calling today, he said, I'm trying to win a ball game. That's what I'm focused on, and I need to fix it.
615-737-7767, and we welcome your phone calls. Brett mentioned yesterday they had the Titans homecoming where they had 40-plus players.
41 players.
41 players
on hand yesterday.
Samari Roll was among them.
Yes.
Who else did you see that you haven't seen in a while?
Saw Zach Pillar.
Donnie Nicky was there.
Yes, Donnie Nicky was there. Absolutely.
Keith Bullock was among them.
Of course. Absolutely.
It's good because a couple of years ago I noticed they had this event for the first time, and there were 15 or so players approximately that showed up. And to see the former players back, Benji Olsen actually walked. They honored them at halftime, and going into the locker room, Benji Olsen actually was walking by the offensive line group coming off the field, and it's like, let's go, guys, let's get up, let's get going. It was cool to see the former players trying to hype up the current players.
Neil O'Donnell was a part of that yesterday.
That's right.
But I think that's a neat thing, them kind of getting those guys back together and showing them a little bit of love. Those guys are part of the foundation of pro football right here in the Mid-South. They're the first names and faces that fans latched onto those years ago.
Injuries will play a factor this week for both teams as the Titans get set to take on the Houston Texans. Arian Foster tore his Achilles. He's out for the season. He was in on a play with 4 minutes to go in a blowout.
Yeah,
and
trailing
it wasn't
44-22 or something like that.
He wasn't even in on the play, right? He was in motion,
right?
And just
non-contact injury.
Just went down.
Yeah.
Just lost it.
And a lot of people in Houston believe that due to his contractual status, because he had a huge extension a few years back, that's probably his last rep and snap as a Houston Texan. And some fear it may be one of the last carries of his career, but certainly his Houston Texans career. So
615-737-7767, our number here on Titans Talk with Rhett Bryan. I'm Jonathan Hutton. We mentioned injuries for the Texans. For the Titans, it'll be an interesting week. Mariota, don't know his status. We will know more on Wednesday. Same goes for the secondary with Jason McCourty, who left early in the game.
With a hamstring in the third quarter. That's
Michael Griffin missed the game with what they're listed as a knee, but had a hip contusion in the game prior to that against the Dolphins. Parrish Cox with a hamstring, tried to play against Miami and could not. But yet, and I want to talk about the offensive injuries in a moment. The secondary yesterday, the backup stepped up and played very well.
You had one starter out there in Denora Searcy at safety.
That's to start the fourth quarter.
So you had the backup safety in Damian Stafford out there. You had Cody Riggs out there who did really well. And, of course, Cody Sensabaugh and Bleedy Ray Wilson. And, they're to all be commended. The secondary with basically one regular starter in there, I thought did a fantastic job against a high-powered, potent offense.
I thought we saw the
Atlanta
best
Falcons.
The best play from Cody Sensabaugh I have seen in
Agreed.
a while. Cody Riggs made a heck of a play on Julio Jones.
You know, and we asked him about that today in the open availability part of the locker room, and asked him about Julio, and he said, listen, that guy doesn't scare me. He said, I played against him in college. People forget that, you know, he's an undrafted rookie free agent from Notre Dame, and he said, I saw all these guys.
Well, and he played at Florida for 4 years.
That's right. And he said, these guys, I'm not scared of anybody. He said, I'm going to go after it. Of course, you know, his dad was Gerald Riggs Sr., who you know, was a big-time running back and, you know, won Super Bowl or two with the Redskins. And, you know, he has instilled those kind of things into his son. And you know, Cody is a guy that I'd have on my radar and watch, because I believe the young man can play.
Any other injuries on defense that were noted today?
Still working on the return of Sammy Lee Hill. I think we're getting ever closer to that. Someone asked today if Al Woods had kind of made his mark there and is keeping that job, and Ken Wisenhunt said no, quite the contrary. He said, we need Sammy, and we're going to work him in, but I would expect Sammy Lee Hill, he might be back this week. And you mentioned Parrish Cox. Parrish Cox told us today he is receiving acupuncture treatment as a part of his some alternative methods to get his hamstring back, and
whatever
he's going to
works.
try that and see where we are. So, but I think that's it pretty much on defense, and offensively they're dinged up too.
Man, that offensive line was makeshift when you start looking at where they were at center to start the game without Brian Schwenke, who's on injured reserve.
And Andy Gallick, a 6th-round pick, gets his first career start and doesn't even get to hardly play a half, as he ends up going out with what was originally called a stinger. And then I think, and it's
That's
certainly
what they reported, yeah.
He's in concussion protocol, so we weren't able to speak to him today. And so
and I can see why. I was right there on the sideline for that hit, on that crackback hit, which was flagged an illegal play by Atlanta. Should have been 2 flags on that play, by the way. I'll just point that out. Illegal hands to the face for Mettenberger on the interception.
And so Joe Looney comes in, a guy that they brought in Wednesday morning of last week, and immediately has to come in and play snaps at center.
And make the call, the protection call.
That's correct. And then we continue to have the deal with Taylor Dewan and the stingers that he keeps getting in his shoulder, and so Jamon Meredith late has to come in for some plays. And you're right.
And he was the last man standing, Jamon Meredith, at one point, literally.
Yes.
He was the last guy off the bench because they'd already played Joe Looney. He's on the field.
Right.
And when Lewan came off for a couple of snaps, it was Meredith left, and that was it. That's all they had active.
Right.
But we talk about injuries being an excuse or not an excuse. It was not an excuse for the secondary, who stepped up and played well.
They did.
The offensive line needs to do the same. 615-737-7767. Our number. Titans Talk continues on News Channel 5 Plus.